Alright, so we're about to do the cone, collar, cap, and nozzle. So first thing I like to do is the nozzle just because it takes so much heat, and that way you give it time to just sit there and cool off before you really need to handle it and put it in the cap. So this is just like sweating pipe. What you want to do is just flux all around the pieces that you're putting into the reducers, and then you'll just put the heat all the way around your pipe, and then one tap of the solder and it should flow right around evenly around the bottom of the reducer. Alright, it's also awesome to just kind of clean off the nozzle as soon as you're done, because again, if you leave charred spots on there, they'll be more of a pain to get off in 20 minutes than they are right then when they're nice and hot. So I'm going to do the seam on the collar real quick also. And again, it has a bead already rolled in it, so you just line it up, bottom it out with the seam that's pre-rolled, and clamp and solder. So I just flux all on the inside just like a normal seam, and then on the outside, you just want to run a little seam right across the middle of that. Done. Freeze it real quick, pull the clamps off. Alright, so now you may have to do a little bit of fitting with these. You'll probably see there's a little bit of gaps in mine, a few spots where it doesn't push out evenly onto the body from the inside. So you want it to be tight on every surface that they touch, So I'm just going to take these pliers and kind of bend out while keeping the same circular shape that one spot, just so it's a little bit tighter right there. And you'll be surprised, a little bit goes a long way when you're changing this. So just make sure you bend a little bit and then test it, and you just want it to have even pressure all the way around the cone. So now that I got it shaped the way I want, I'm going to go ahead and flux it and get the soldering. What I normally do is just put my thumb on the outside. You want it to be, pretty close to the top of the cone, while fitting really tight. You want to be able to just sit there without falling in. So in this, you're going to want to solder the outside of the wall and the cone. So you need to make sure that you get solder all in that valley and on the outside of the body. So it's real important that you swipe that outside wall and that it gets a nice, bond to the cone, and you have something you can build up on top of. I normally start at the top and then swipe down to the outside of the body. This way I make sure I'm swiping across the whole thing, and when I do my build-up run, I have something to build up onto. It's not all on the cone. It's an actual bond between the two pieces. Right here, I'm just going back and filling that void. So I just try and normally drop cold solder at the top and then melt it to where it fills right up. That valley is now a nice smooth angle going across to the sidewall of the body. You may need a rag for this part. It's nice to have it handy. I would just kind of go with it as much as you can, and then spots that fall through, I just come back and keep the rag handy. When you use the rag, what you're going to want to do is melt it to the top like that, and then put the rag underneath it and just, melt it and raise the rag as close to the seam as you need to freeze it so it keeps from falling down. So now we're right here at the body seam. You just want to keep moving past it and solder what you need to solder. You can go back afterward and fix what you need to fix. But the important part is you get the comb and all that area covered in enough solder to build up on. You can see how I opened it up there. I'm not going to even worry about that until I'm built up all the way around. Same thing with the cone seam. There's a little spot there that didn't get a good bond, so I'm just going to resolder. It's easier to see holes and stuff after you've cleaned off your flux. Alright, I think that did it for the cone. Just kind of check around and make sure you don't see any little pinhole leaks or anything. If you do, just a little touch of solder and a little build up. So now we're going to just touch up the cone seam. You just want it to be level and at 12 o'clock so it doesn't run or anything. It normally only takes a couple drops and it'll fill right in. And you just freeze it and go onto the top of the body seam. Alright, done with the comb. Now it's time to put on the collar, cap, and nozzle.